Well, good morning, and thanks for joining us for the Ohio AgNet podcast. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg, your host with the Ohio AgNet and Ohio's Country Journal. Joining me today, Joel Penorwood, as always, making things happen technologically for us. And so, Joel, we appreciate that. We've got Matt Reese off on assignment today, so he will not be joining us. Instead, we've got the A-team. We've got Allison, Kinney, and Aubree Topp. Ladies, thanks for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm excited.
Well, these young ladies were two of our outstanding Ohio FFA reporters for coverage during the State FFA Convention. They did a great job working with Matt and Joel and a couple other individuals, bringing us complete coverage during the end of last week. You've probably heard some of their interviews on the radio, and they are going to tell us a little bit more in depth about it. But first off, ladies, why don't you introduce yourselves to the podcast audience? Allison, why don't you go first?
So I'm Allison Kinney, and I'm from the Indian Lake FFA Chapter. This year was my second year doing this, so I was the I'll just say the pro I was called. I don't know how much I'd call myself that, but no, it was my second year doing it, and I had another great experience. Very
good. Aubree, how about you?
Hi, I'm Aubree Topp. I am a junior, and I'm from the Botkins FFA Chapter. Inside FFA, some of my favorite CDEs would be job interview, public speaking, and dairy judging. Outside of FFA, I also show cows locally, state level, and nationally, and we have a dairy farm here with about 40 head of cows. And this was my first year doing this, and I absolutely loved it. I love to see the insides of what there is out there for photography and videography. The communication side of agriculture is a huge, broad area, and seeing the insides of it was a really cool experience.
Well, that's good. The way the program works, you guys definitely get thrown to the wolves, and Joel and Matt set you guys up, and you guys go tackle the convention. Joel, how many conventions has this been for you?
Oh, a lot. I guess, started coming to conventions way back when my brother started doing FFA back in the day. I'm the youngest of three. But these guys did a really good job, along with student reporters Wyatt Morrow and Courtney Copeland, who made up our 4-person team this year. And they just went out there and they got it. They lit a fire, and they just got all the interviews and had a great perspective along the way as well. So many thanks to them, and also a busy time for them as well. I think each and every one of them, I believe, walked across the stage in some way or format for some sort of honor. Allison, I know you were representing your chapter in many ways, and Aubree, you got your FFA degree at the very last one as well. So congratulations to you all on that. And Dusty, you've had some time there at the State FFA Convention as well in your day.
That was a few years ago. Yes, I did. I did some public speaking and back in the day, and was successful then. But golly, that was back in the late 80s, early 90s. So that was like ancient. That's when it was still Future Farmers of America rather than National FFA Organization. So I'm not quite as old as Dale. It wasn't 40 years ago, but it was about half that long ago. So, yep, but good times and great to see even more outstanding young people taking leadership today, even than then. So that is outstanding. Well, Joel, we've got a couple other things coming up on the podcast. You mentioned a couple of our other reporters, and they're going to have some featured audio. Wyatt had a neat one. Talk about what Wyatt's bringing us.
Yes, he traveled backstage a little bit, so we give the a press pass, and they're able to sort of take that and do with it what they will, whether it's going backstage or even maybe jumping ahead slightly in line to get a picture with a certain Stover who's doing a photo opportunity. So they use that to that ability. But Wyatt was able to go chat with some of the state officers as they were wrapping up their time in the Blue Corduroy as far as leadership in the state. So he has a nice little roundtable audio discussion there. We'll be hearing from that. And then also Allison Kinney, right after the naming of the new FFA state president here for 2023 to 2024, Luke Jennings. She was able to travel backstage and get a nice interview with him to not only capture some of those emotions that he was going through at that time, but also some of those experiences that he learned in this past year as a state officer that he's going to be continuing on to this year. Allison, any thoughts on that interview that you were able to capture before we throw to it?
I thought it was really fun and cool. He was he seemed very calm, but you could tell he was extremely excited for this new opportunity that he got. And it was just really cool to be able to sit there and ask him about that and kind of learn about his journey through FFA.
Very good.
Absolutely.
Very good.
And of course, there's plenty of other conversations online at ohioagnet.com, thanks to Wilmington College.
We are going to have another conversation also coming up with Dr. Laura Lindsey. Everybody knows that it is planting season. At least it should be planting season if we could get this weather to straighten out and fields to dry up a little bit. Dr. Lindsey and I talked about some of the early planting that went on a couple weeks ago now, maybe how to assess those fields with some of the stresses they've been under, and then things to keep in mind as we hopefully try and find that next window of opportunity to get the corn and beans in the ground. So we'll have that coming up as well. And of course, all this to come out in the podcast, and you'll find it in Digital Dale as well. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.